Okay, got it. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, excellent. The time is 6:31. We'll call this meeting of the November 11th, 2025 License and Ordinance Committee to order. Members present, myself, Kim Madden, Charles Myers, and David Lorman. We do have a quorum. And we have any comments from citizens present? I don't see any. You all are very familiar faces, so we'll go on ahead and move on to the approval of the minutes. So we're looking for any corrections to the September 9th, 2025 minutes from members present. I have none.
I have none.
David's shaking his head. All right, I accept the minutes of the September 9th, 2025 meeting as published. We'll move on to the approval of the October 14th, 2025 minutes. Any corrections or comments from members present regarding those meeting minutes?
Aye.
Right. Then I also accept those as published. Moving on to ordinances. Item number 1, the ordinance to revise chapter 33 of the lighting ordinance. I imagine that's why we have Daphne on. Or we did.
I thought I saw her.
Yeah, there she is.
There
Hi,
you
I'm here. Yeah, I'm just here to answer any questions if you guys have anything related to the lighting ordinance.
I do not have any thoughts or input.
Daphne, were these just changes that were just suggested like over the course of the couple of minutes? I mean, I feel like we just revised this lighting ordinance like wasn't even 2 years ago.
Yeah. So this we revised the lighting ordinance when we redid all the zoning and sign as well. And so we got a lot of input after we updated the lighting ordinance. And so there was a lot of issues, I think, with our old ordinance because it had just a very strict maximum. Whereas with this ordinance, it's more based off of the dark sky model, and so that it allows for different higher lumen counts and all of that. But what it really focuses on is the light trespass, not letting so you can have a lot higher lumen count lamp, but as long as it's not trespassing the light onto other properties, stuff like that. And so it just allows for a lot more flexibility in our lighting code because before I think we had like a 2,000 lumen count and most like parking lot lights are like 5,000 lumens. And
Yeah.
so we were running into a lot of people having issues with that. So we revised it.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah,
Mhm.
I thought the parking lot piece was particularly like, oh, that would never actually
Right. Yeah.
practically never work. So, okay, excellent.
Matt, are you comfortable with this ordinance as it's been written?
Yeah, I had a chance to look through. There's nothing too terribly controversial. And before this goes to council, I'll want to this is a good format for everyone to look at and see how it impacts the whole ordinance, but for adoption form, is it assuming this body recommends it tonight, is the plan then for this to go to council next week?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
I mean,
hope.
there's not a huge amount of changes, so I don't think it should be. But yeah, so assuming this body recommends it tonight, I can get this thrown together in kind of the normal adoption format, and certainly this can go along in the packet for reference sake. But otherwise, yeah, I didn't have any legal concerns with anything.
Right. I didn't have any other major questions or concerns. It doesn't seem like there is, like you said, not a lot of big changes, but I think important ones. And again, light trespasses is the main issue here. I'll go ahead and move approval of the ordinance to revise chapter 33, the lighting ordinance.
Myers will second.
Right, excellent. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Right, the ayes have it. We'll move on to number 2, the ordinance to amend section 15.03 to stop sign locations and add a stop sign at Lynn Street and Graver Road. And we went over this pretty thoroughly in Public Works. I don't see Tyler's not on the call today, but this is basically traffic control, right? Graver Road's gonna go over. This is the stop sign at Lynn Street. It's the intersection, just so that people know that, hey, this is moving through and you have to stop here. So I don't see any, and no changes since what we discussed in Public Works, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, but this looks
No,
exactly the same as,
this is identical to what we discussed in Public Works. All right, I'll move approval. I'll move approval and recommendation to Common Council to amend section 15.03 1 to stop sign locations to add a stop sign at Lynn Street at Graber Road and to waive second reading at council. Or to recommend waive second reading at council.
sure.
Okay, Lorman, I'll second that.
All right, you have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Item number 3, an ordinance to establish a fee for recycling services.
Yeah, so based on our budget deliberations and everything, we decided to go forward with this recycling fee, and that has to be done as a special charge. And so there are a few kind of procedural things that we need to do to actually effectuate the charge. And one is to adopt it someplace in form, and another place is the council has to formally establish the notice for the charge. Now, there's certainly been some notice in the budget hearings and everything, and plus we have all our other fees in an ordinance. So we decided that it'd be best to include this in our fee schedule, and then just the ordinary adoption process, unless you thought there should be some other notice. But the way I drafted this is the formal statutory notice is basically what's been provided already in the budget process on top of the publication of this ordinance. But the ordinance also separately directs staff to, try to find a few other ways to publicize it, although that is not, officially required for the validity of the charge. Is kind of the approach I took. So.
On 4, could we add email to the city's entire distribution list?
I can certainly add that. I don't know if that's at all difficult or problematic, but
The one thing I'm thinking that could pop up, obviously we didn't budget for it. Do you think someone would say, oh, there needs to be a mailing, which would be really expensive? I mean, are we obligated to?
no.
Okay.
We notice for a charge like this, except for a few different specific charges, are just whatever the council determines notice should be. And so that's why I said that the other stuff, the staff is I keep opening the cover sheet and not the ordinance. There we go. The stuff at the bottom, the direction to staff, is just some suggestions. So even in this, we wouldn't have to necessarily include it. It leaves it to the discretion of the city administrator to provide additional notice. May include the city website, social media, or Good Neighbor News, but that doesn't mean Brian couldn't also decide to send it out on the email list, but I mean, we can certainly include that as well. But the language as it is, any additional notice is basically left to Brian's discretion. So
I know I would feel more comfortable having it go out on the listserv.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be a pretty ingrained tool that the city uses for a lot of things, and we do direct our constituents to it. specifically. So I think we should just have that little blurb in that.
So do we refer to it as the city listserv, or is that, will everyone know what that
I'm
means? Or is there a better reference?
I'm trying to think of the technical attributes to it. So if we say it goes out on the listserv, that means you have to subscribe to the listserv to get the notice.
Right.
You do.
So we're not going to have do we have a separate um, listserv for just ordinance updates or ordinance notices? Or no, or is it really just based on committee and commission membership,
Right. Yeah, I think it's just
right?
by committee. But
Yeah. So,
there is a general one
Mhm.
as well that's just for City of Middleton. Do you want me to
yep.
look to see how many subscribers there are? Might be able to tell.
No, I'm just trying to help Matt craft the language. Um,
It's called Civic Send. That's what or
yeah.
Notify Me. Or is it Civic Send? Yeah, I think we use Civic Send.
I think it's Civic Send.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So
So
there's
then I
the
guess
city news and notices list that you
there
can
you
sign
go.
up for.
City.
Yeah. Is that what it's referenced on the website?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
perfect.
The list name is 1-city news ampersand notices. Keeps you in the loop on community happenings such as construction, local events, media releases, and general updates. This feels like it fits pretty firmly within that list.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
What was it called?
1-city news and notices.
City News and Notices. Okay.
It might be worth sending it out on the finance one as well, but I think City News and Notices probably has the larger subscriber count.
I think when we send those out, you can select multiple lists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You probably can just select all. And
You could. You could.
and if you're following the art, then you'll get that notice.
Well, I'm happy with leaving whatever selection boxes need to be checked up to the city administrator, but I do think that
Yeah.
there needs to be an email component of our notification to the public.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll just add then, which may include the city news and notices, email list, city website, etc.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Matt, I have a question procedurally.
Sure.
So when we have this agenda item, it won't be considered until after the budget is adopted, correct?
I haven't talked to Brian specifically about how this would go. I mean, if I would imagine the budget probably comes up first, but either way, if this came up first, I think the motion would be to approve subject to or effective upon approval of the budget.
I think you're right, Charles. Oh, having an ordinance for a potential budget item that may not exist doesn't make sense.
Well, but by the same token, right, in a budget where you don't have the ordinance, I mean, either way,
Oh, either way,
either
okay.
way, they both
Yeah.
kind of have to happen. So,
Oh, so we have to,
Yeah.
yeah, so the city has to approve both for it to really happen. That's bottom
right.
line.
Well, I mean, we could do this a slightly different way. This is just the way I thought made the most sense. But yeah, I mean, we will have to do something, and I think provide some formal statement of the council of how it intended to provide notice of that new fee to go on as a special charge. And this just seemed like the best way. But
Sure.
I would be very surprised to see the budget adopted with that charge and then this ordinance failed to pass. So But either way, I don't think it's an insurmountable procedural problem. We'll see how it comes out on the agenda, and I will be there to guide you to make sure it all gets adopted properly.
I think
Very good.
budget is listed before ordinances
Okay.
on those, on the template, yeah.
Oh,
Well, yeah, then this should be a foregone conclusion by the time we
so
get to
then
it.
there you go. If
Okay,
the
great.
budget gets passed, then we do the ordinance, and if the budget for some reason doesn't get passed, we just say item something under ordinances, we will skip.
Yep.
All right.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, I'll second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of item number 3, the ordinance to establish a fee for recycling services, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Right, motion carries. Discussion item 1, the discussion on parking in front of mailboxes, which is item or ordinance 15.04. Matt, this comes to us as a request from one of our planning commissioners who's concerned that we are that access to certain mailboxes is going to be blocked by parking. And I think you did we're pretty familiar with what the ordinance actually is, but is there some way that we should use to indicate other than, because I can't imagine that everybody reads this ordinance about mailboxes. Like, do we want to use something like yellow paint in front of that to indicate there? Or, I mean, I throwing ideas out there. What's the feelings of our fellow members? Charles, go ahead.
So, yellow paint actually, and Matt, you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but yellow paint actually needs to be accompanied by a sign in order to be considered binding, so to speak, because it can be covered up by snow and other items on the curb. Uh, and also, if we were to stripe every area around every mailbox in the city, it would quickly overwhelm the public works budget for that particular sort of job. So, just from an implementation standpoint, I think if we were trying to allocate funding there, we might, for some sort of enforcement to make sure that people are not blocking mailboxes, we might actually look at potentially funding a position split between code enforcement and public works and the police department, as the city has done in the past, so that it's a full-time position and have that be the city's code enforcement officer. Uh, Matt, when did that lapse and the Middleton move over to a part-time person in public works? Do you remember?
No, not exactly the timing.
I think it's always, well, I don't know about it at the police department, but as far as the code enforcement, it's always been part-time. I think Mark Walther is the first one that took over that position, and that's after he retired from the police department.
Right. I
So
thought
I
he
don't
did for a
know.
while some full time, but then even before, just before retired, I
Yeah,
think he was just all part time too.
yeah.
Well, and I'm not sure that the issue is necessarily citywide either. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding too of using yellow striping on the curbs is you can't park there ever. According to the ordinance, this is only, Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And would we maybe think then of doing it on a case by case basis, like the owner of a particular property reports that they're having issues with parking in front of their mailbox and requests that we put, signage up. David, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm specifically looking at the email that brought this on, and I think what I'm interpreting here from our other commission members in the city is that this person specifically didn't like the fact that a business took it upon themselves to erect signage on either side of the mailbox. And I almost interpret it as though we need an ordinance for an ordinance. So the ordinance does what it's supposed to do, but doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Um,
Yeah,
that's kind of why I think it's confusing. I mean, we have an ordinance that says you can't park in front of the mailbox, and now you have a business that puts a sign up 4 feet in front and 4 feet behind their mailbox that says no parking between signs. And it's this person is saying, I don't want those signs there. So um,
Right, but is then the alternative to, because
so I'm like, okay, what do we need? An ordinance that says you can't on your own private property put a sign up that says, hey, don't park in front of my mailbox?
well, because it's not private property, it's in the right of way.
right. I
Oh,
mean,
that's right.
technically, the signs probably violate the if
Yes.
they aren't city authorized signs.
I mean, I have a constituent just in my neighborhood that lives in a section of my neighborhood where there's, apartments, and then their private residence is across the street, and they put a no parking sign on their mailbox post. And I can understand why they did it, because probably random people just park in front of their mailbox because they're looking for a place to park when they go over and visit the apartment. Um, so it's almost like an enforcement issue from that standpoint.
Well, I was just trying to remember. I remember discussing this and adopting it. And I was trying to go back and see.
I
Was it,
remember too when we talked about
was
this ordinance. Um,
so? Well, I guess it wasn't that long ago, huh?
no, it was over on the west side of the city in one of the far, far west side neighborhoods, west of the airport road area, bordering city town of Middleton. And, uh, there were some habitual, hey, I'm going to park in front of your mailbox people that kept doing it.
Right.
And it kind of escalated to even where the police got pulled in, I think, brought out to some residents, to have talks with the neighbors.
Yeah. Well, what I was trying to remember and figure out is what kind of signage needs to be there to actually enforce this.
Oh, so you could put a sign up in front of your mailbox if it was to
Well,
code,
I mean, yeah, but I don't remember.
like no parking in front of
I mean,
mailbox.
we adopted this, but apparently we did not ever decide to go out and start erecting signage. Although I seem to remember talking about developing, an approved sign style or something. I just don't remember how that all shook out.
Okay.
Um,
Would it likely be something like no parking in between signs from, from and then list the hours, the 7 a.m. to, or 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday? Because
yeah,
it's really,
or oftentimes in an area, rather than putting two signs, you can usually put just one sign with like arrows going two ways and saying no parking within 4 feet of mailbox. Yeah, and the hours. As long as it reasonably notifies people of the regulation. And I as I sit here, I mean, as long as it is a officially sanctioned sign and it is given with the blessing of the city, I don't see any reason why there couldn't be a program whereby the city could distribute signs to people who are having this particular problem. I mean, the ordinance would apply anywhere, but until a sign was erected. If we didn't want to go actually print up a bunch of signs, but they would have to be some uniform signage, and I'm not sure exactly. Maybe we would have to print up have some signs made and ready for people. I'm just not sure how the practicality of that would work.
Well,
Yeah,
and like I said, I'm not sure that this is a problem in front of every apartment building, every house, every business. It does,
correct.
it's probably on a case by case basis, which is why I would lean towards having that request made by the business that's having an issue, saying, hey, this is part of our ordinance. We're having a problem with our mailbox being blocked during delivery hours. And they request a sign from Public Works and have Public Works figure out exactly what that signage should read based on the ordinance.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this the other thing he said in his email, which opens up a larger can of worms, is he said, well, gee, maybe we should just have an ordinance that you can't park any vehicle on that side of the street on Pleasant View Road. So no, so you don't need any signs. Oh,
Well, you still would need signs. It would just have to be, you could
no
have a
parking
fewer
signs.
sign thing, no parking
Right.
this side.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly we have the ordinance, but unless and until it can't just be any sign. It has to be an official traffic sign. Now, like I said, I don't know. I mean, there could be ways if we could get some printed up, and I don't know that necessarily means the city has to go out and put a sign on every single mailbox, but I don't know how practical it is to get official signs printed up for people to get, or if you can, get, a handful of them at any sort of reasonable.
And then the other question is, like we're just with respect to this, you're talking about potentially saying we're gonna erect a no parking zone on a section of Pleasant View Road in front of a business, when maybe that business wants parking out there for patrons and customers or visitors.
Right.
It just seems like it gets really complicated really fast, in my opinion, as well. But I
Yeah.
saw Tyler online for a moment, but maybe not. Who also read the email. Did you see a copy of the email, Matt?
I haven't seen any email, no.
Oh,
Here, I'll forward it to you, Matt.
oh, I got my mail up. You gonna do it, Charles, or should I?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I'm not necessarily losing sleep or think it should be a sign code enforcement priority to have these unofficial signs removed. But I also don't think that technically they give you the authority to write the citation because they're not official signs.
Mhm.
And, frankly, those aren't, and frankly, if we're not going to erect signs or have some kind of system whereby official signs can be placed at least upon request, I'm not sure we should have the ordinance, to be honest, but.
Well, and if I am remembering this correctly, signs like those that are placed in the right of way, enforcement is kind of on a case by case basis and is typically complaint based. Like the city doesn't drive around looking for signs to
No.
remove. We wait to hear from someone who has a complaint about a particular sign, and then we would
Well,
enforce that
or
placement
we,
of the sign.
I mean, if we here understand that there are unauthorized signs placed in the right of way, I know somebody had just pointed a bunch out, and I think Jim or somebody, building inspection, went out and just scooped them all up. So we are confiscating unauthorized signs that are in the right of way.
Okay. Well, and I would, to be honest with you, I would feel better about,
This looks like a little bit more than 4 feet on either side of the mailbox too.
yeah. And I think I
Yes,
would
it
feel
is.
better about making some sort of ordinance change if this was, an impacted residence or business making their request, right? We, I think, have the tools, like you said, to enforce the removal of those signs in the right of way if we deem them inappropriate. I'm not sure that this rises to the level of having to make an ordinance for an ordinance. I think it's,
Oh, no. Well, I mean, we already have an ordinance that
yeah,
makes these two signs on either side of this mailbox not legal. It's called the sign ordinance. It does not allow any unauthorized signs in the public right of way. So we do not need, if somebody really has a problem with these, and if the city does, we do not need to adopt any ordinance to go scoop those signs up.
okay.
Can
Now,
can a
if you
citizen
do
take
that,
it upon themselves to scoop signs up?
they shouldn't.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the right of way isn't theirs to monitor.
Ah, that's right.
Right.
And then that becomes just theft. Again, probably not something that would get prosecuted, but yeah, I mean, we shouldn't allow these, but I mean, you scoop those up, and if this person is having a real problem, what you're going to hear is, well, Jesus, you have this ordinance. You know it's a problem. You adopted an ordinance, but now you won't put up any signage so you can actually enforce it. And all I'm trying
Yeah,
to do is, all I'm trying to do is suggest to people to follow the ordinance that you
Right.
adopted. You know,
and
but
this is a business address, so I can see if someone just randomly blocks their mailbox, that impacts their business. They're not getting
well, if they want to, I mean, we could, like I said, we could go out and erect an official sign. I mean, I don't know
clearly
if
we don't have any
if
codes for how mailboxes are supposed to look.
Do we want to just
so
refer this to the Public Works Committee?
Oh,
I think that's probably the best course of action, to be honest, because now we're talking, because it's Public Works that's going to be erecting signs. It's not, the city doesn't just hand out an official reflective sign and say, here you go. This is something that Public Works is going to have to fund and then place.
yeah,
I said, I don't think it needs to be in front of every single mailbox. This is, I mean, as far to my knowledge, we have not received a complaint from the business about it. There's been no official, hey, we need code enforcement here because our mailbox is being blocked. They just proactively put some signs up to try to mitigate the issue. So yeah, I think this is a good discussion for Public Works.
Okay, I'd move to refer this item to Public Works for their policy input.
I will second that motion. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
hi.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We'll defer it to Public Works. Future agenda items, David.
Nothing.
Okay, Charles.
Pass.
All right. For myself, during our last joint meeting of Public Works and Ped Bike Transit, Matt, we had some folks on the Public Works Committee side lament that we really didn't have any good way to enforce particularly fines on developers and private businesses who are not following the adopted complete streets under construction guidelines, right? So there's no recourse if they say block the North Mendota path for 5 days without notice. And so I'd like to look at that in a little more detail in the future, and what can we do from the ordinance and public works side to actually give a little bit of repercussions to companies that violate the agreement with the complete streets policy in particular.
yeah. So I'll give it some thought. My initial, well, I guess probably should be a future discussion since we
Yeah.
don't have a notice. I have some thoughts on it, but I'll kick that around a little bit more, and if we want to put that on, I can hopefully have some.
Yeah, just thoughts as a future agenda item. Just give us your thoughts and background on ways that we could possibly aid in enforcement of those policies.
Okay.
And then just
Yeah.
let me know when, or just forward me whatever when you want to add it on.
Okay.
Great.
I
All
have
right.
an email.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Charles.
That's why I passed. Um, the feasibility of banning single-use plastic bags.
Oh, I had a conversation with Matt on that.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to have it as an agenda item, Matt, or just discuss directly with Charles.
We can discuss. I'm trying to recall our discussion. We talked about it before, but
Bottom line is you said we can't create a tax.
well, yeah, I don't think that's what he's talking about, though. Not
Okay.
necessarily. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, right. Okay.
I think that's worthy of a future agenda discussion. And if it was like this is why we can't do it, then
Yeah.
that's what
Okay.
that's what we'll review. But we'll stick to our published agenda
Yep.
and not discuss any further. Any other future agenda items? All right, fantastic. Then having reached the end of our published agenda, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.